everyone. Happy Tuesday. Thank you for joining us for today's webinar, Fueling Customer Service in Higher Ed with Data Confidence. My name is Allie Littman. I'm the Customer Success Manager at Braincell. Today, we will be exploring how colleges and universities can leverage technology to improve the service experience for students, faculty, and staff. First, though, I got a couple housekeeping things to go over. If you have any questions during the presentation, you can type them into the question box on your control panel. I'll bring them up during the discussion, and we'll also have some time at the end for questions. Additionally, the session's being recorded, and we will share it with you via email. You can expect to see it in your inbox likely tomorrow morning. All right. Before we get started, I want to talk briefly about Braincell. We are founded in 1994. We are a growth enablement firm specializing in different technologies that help businesses grow, such as customer service tools, CRM, business intelligence, ERP, marketing automation, and sales enablement. We help companies thrive by solving their business challenges with guidance and technology. Let's run through the agenda really quick. First of all, I'm going to introduce you to our presenters, and then we're going to go through the Zendesk Data Challenges study. Then we're going to hear from the University of Louisville about how they leverage Zendesk to improve their customer service operations. Next, we're going to hear the data confidence story and what University of Louisville is doing next in their deployment of Zendesk. And after that, we'll have a live Q&A. All right, so today on the line with me, I have Kim Towle from Zendesk. She's a customer experience and service strategist. And I'm also really pleased to have Melissa Shutter with us. She's the Executive Director of Operations Support Services at the University of Louisville. Braincell helped University of Louisville create a platform to service students, faculties, and staff using Zendesk to perform the management requests, meeting SLAs, and drive their back office operations in several departments with data. So now I'm going to turn it over to Kim, who's going to tell us a little bit more about Zendesk. Kim, are you with us?
I was talking to myself. Thank you, Allie.
I thought that might be the case. Well, we're glad to have you here.
Thanks. And thank you, everyone, for taking a few minutes and about an hour, I guess, out of your day to spend with us and learn a little bit more about how the University of Louisville is leveraging Zendesk. For those of you who aren't familiar with Zendesk, we're a company that's been around for about 14 years based in San Francisco, and we're a software company. At the core of our business, we are and offer a customer engagement platform, and it's centered around servicing people, both internal and external, to an organization. We provide an omni-channel experience, and this allows you and your users to choose how they wish to communicate with you and with your organization 24/7 by 365. One key aspect that attracts our 150,000 plus customers to use our platform is a clear view into what is happening in their business and empowering them with data to make decisions that can drive satisfaction. Go ahead, Allie. So first, I just wanted to touch on a few trends that we're experiencing and seeing, and that customers are sharing with us that they're seeing in service. Number one, first and foremost, automation and self-service are really changing the role of service and how you as an organization may need to think about servicing your internal and external users and customers, students, faculty, and staff. The second thing is that data and analytics are opening a whole new world of human-centered interactions. As a result of this, organizations, and Louisville is a great example of this, and you're going to see and learn about this today, are looking at how can they tear down the silos and how can they empower their teams with information and insight in order to deliver the levels of service that are required in today's environment. The result of what is happening and the trends that are happening is really forcing universities and colleges to look at service as a journey to become really a #1 priority. And your students, faculty, and staff are expecting you, as well as your prospects, to know them, to value them, and to predict and understand what their needs are and why they may be contacting you. Go ahead, Allie. So first, with 150,000 customers, we have and house a lot of data and information. Our solution is cloud-based. And so Zendesk decided to do a study as a proof point to how data and analytics can help create better service experiences. The typical metrics that we took a look at are listed here. I've got CSAT, Net Promoter Score, first call resolution, just a few examples. You can see the one-touch resolution as well as SLAs that need to be met in order to service the university and the people within the university. Excuse me. So go ahead to the next slide. Oh, you already did. Never mind. Thank you, Allie. So we took a look at customers, and we took a look at high versus low metric usage within our platform. We looked at key performance metrics like the ones that I just named off, CSAT, NPS, first call resolution, etc. And what we wanted to do is determine if companies that were and organizations that were better using analytic tools within the product outperformed those who weren't. So we took a look at the median number of what we call tab executions within our product dashboard, and we labeled those who were above average use of tabs as what we would consider in the high category. So the results were not surprising. If you want to go ahead, Allie, to the next slide. On average, what we witnessed and what we were able to share and see is that those who were utilizing and leveraging the dashboards and the metrics and the analytics that are available within our platform had higher satisfaction ratings, about 1.6% than other organizations. Their first-time replies were actually higher by about 12%. And they also had a lower first call resolution time. The other thing that we did take a look at was the one-touch responses and being able to close the ticket. And this was a key priority and measure. In fact, all of these things were important to the University of Louisville as they took a look at what we could bring to the table. But as a result, you can see that the measures truly did improve what they were doing and how they handle service. So the next slide. So this is just the satisfaction ratings, etc. And I'm sorry, Allie, I forgot to have you switch that. But as we go to the next slide, what I'm going to do is get ready to hand it over to Melissa so that you guys can all hear how and why the University of Louisville is leveraging Zendesk. I do want to note that while Melissa's operations team focuses on HR and finance and overall service in these areas at the University of Louisville, that Zendesk as an organization has many universities across the globe that leverage Zendesk, and they're leveraging it to improve processes, SLAs, and to gain greater efficiencies in several areas of a university. So some of the areas where we also have implementations across the globe are housing applications, and applications for things that need to happen within housing, the athletics departments, alumni services and student services, and much more. So with that, I'll go ahead and hand it over to Melissa so that she can share with you University of Louisville story.
Thanks, Kim. Thanks, Allie. So the University of Louisville stood up a shared service organization about 3.5 years ago. Like many shared service organizations, our goal is to be efficient in our processing, and data is really key in moving us forward through changes. So we stood up with a customer service arm by design, as well as transactional HR and transactional finance teams. We have central offices for finance and HR as well. We're by us partnering with them, they have a better ability to focus on the big issues, and then we focus on streamlining the transactional. So when we first stood up, on the next slide, you'll see that we've had quite the journey over the last couple of years. In the beginning, we stood up with a handful, I think we were 13 people. Just for scope, we're an organization of 42 now. But when we first stood up, we were sharing an email account, service account, and with multiple people in it. I, as the executive director, I was fine to read it, but I shouldn't touch anything because there were all these rules around it, and became very quickly aware that there was no way for us to scale our operation without a solid foundation with a product like what we found in Zendesk. We found Zendesk, as Braincell pointed out, we actually sat in on a webinar much like this for a different product. And then as we worked through what our needs were with Braincell, they were able to direct us to Zendesk, which has been a great fit. So we launched in late 2016, early 2017. We got a trial subscription. I challenged our director of customer service and quality improvement to get us ready to launch in the 30-day free trial. So I didn't want to waste any of that time. That is not reasonable, but we weren't far off that. So we went live in July for tickets and just for our customer service area. 6 months later, we launched the talk functionality, allowing us to record calls and have those embedded into tickets. 6 months later, we leveraged the collaboration functionality, expanding not just to agents, but also to additional, particularly hourly staff that were able to work tickets so that they were ready for our full agents to expedite the public replies. And then we began building out our knowledge base. We used it internally to support our customer service folks for the first 6 months or so, and then just recently launched the knowledge base to the full university. And then also, and our goal with knowledge base is to allow self-help, and we want to defer calls if we can. And then also this past fall, we launched service level agreements. So I mentioned we originally started with just our customer service team. A year into it, after the customer service quality improvement team, being the owners of Zendesk for us, needed to feel comfortable. Once they were comfortable, we opened it up to our functional team. So we have been using Zendesk to manage individual cases and situations. That's been going on for just about a year. And so another year into that, then we said, okay, now it's time to start layering in those service level agreements. The most important to us being a 24-hour response time or an 8-hour day response time, which Zendesk manages both of those time frames very well. On the next slide, I'm going to talk about kind of how we use our data. Want to make sure feedback is a key driver for any continuous improvement organization, which we are. Zendesk allows us to pull in that direct feedback, to assess volumes so we know if we've got everybody on the call. I'm sure August looks different than any other month for most of us. And then also it was really important that we be able to not just receive that feedback, but be responsive to the needs of the university. As a change organization, we need to be able to affect those changes openly to our clients. So on the next slide, you'll see each day when I come in, I can get a sense of what happened the day before. In this case, I can see we have tickets coming in some days greater than we're solving. So this is a receipt to solve graph that's very quick to see it. I can see the backlog very quickly on the screen, as well as the satisfaction rating. So this can be looked at. In this case, it's over the last 30 days, but with a very quick change of the menu, I can look at the last 7, last 24. If I want to look year over year, I can do a custom I can change that coding there directly. If I scroll down the page on the next slide, you'll see that I can also see where are our inquiries coming from. So is everything, so 25% is coming in through a web form, and 60% are coming in through mail. We decided one of the attractions for Zendesk for us is I didn't want to, we're a very email-based culture. And while best practice advice we got was that we should have people log in to the ticketing system, I knew that wasn't going to fly for our culture today or 3 years ago. And so what we were able to do is we leveraged that service account that became a nightmare to manage. We kept the address that was already set with the university and automatically have things forwarded to create tickets in Zendesk. And so that's where the mail stays at 60%, very high. It also allows us to see how many things are going to voicemail, so that's a ratio I'll look at on a regular basis as well. Benchmarking data, Zendesk will provide, I'm still on the previous slide, Allie, thank you. Thanks. The middle thing there, you can actually look at industry comparisons. We're using the ticketing a lot more than most industry averages, and then we're able to watch our satisfaction and reply rates. We're able to look at that first reply time, which Kim mentioned, and then also the health of our help center, our knowledge base, what people are searching to find, and then even tickets, which agents are crushing through tickets is important for us to see. On the next slide, this is the talk, so we're able to take a look and see who's on the phones, how long, what the duration, so good data around our phone management as well. We run 2 offices. You never know if it's going to be uptown or downtown where those calls are answered, and Talk helps and Zendesk help us keep that seamless. On the next slide, I'm going to go into some areas around satisfaction. Content measures, I mentioned the need for that flexibility and the responsiveness of design, and then how we gather user comments. So satisfaction, earlier when we were looking at the overview, it was that first section under reporting overview. And then selecting satisfaction, I can see at any given time what our percent of satisfaction is and what that's based off of. So what's the response rate, how many good ratings, how many bad ratings do we have, again with the reporting period being customizable as well as some really easy drop downs. And then on the next slide you'll see that data then breaks out to even more detail. So this is just scrolling down the screen, and I could look at all the good ones with comments, or I could look at all the bad comments. It allows you to slice the data so that you can look at it for what you need, as well as export it quickly to a CSV, which includes a greater set of information. On the next slide, you'll see that when we create a knowledge base, so we've created our knowledge base, we've populated it with articles. Those articles include the ability to follow. So if I follow an article, anytime someone adds a comment to it, then I'll get notified by email. And then it's also on the article towards the bottom, it will ask you, was it helpful or not? Same stuff we see when we're out shopping on the internet, you get with this as well. And so we watch to see which articles are helpful, which ones aren't, which ones are followed, and then what comments. On the next slide, we've got the ability for users to add those direct comments, which is very helpful. It gives our community a chance to kind of keep us straight or let us know if something's changed. As I mentioned, we still have central offices, and while we strive to make sure we're always communicating effectively, if something gets out, or let's say there's a bad rumor on the street, we're able to pick it up through comments and then get the grapevine infused with the right information through this feedback. Also, the knowledge base, when I showed you that dashboard earlier, the user comments are reflected on a dashboard, so it's very easy to see. I don't have to go out and look at each article or follow each article. but rather there's a simple reporting that allows you to see the comments that have been made. On the next slide, I spoke earlier about the need for responsive design. When we staffed our business operations or operations support services, I didn't want to have to replicate technical skills that are held centrally within the university. And so I really didn't want to have an onboard web designer, but I also very quickly got frustrated with the fact I had to get in line for changes that I needed to make in order to be responsive. So with the knowledge base to the right, you'll see that's our website. We've updated it a bit since the screenshot, but it really gives us the ability to say, how can we help you? Here's information that you need, and here's what's been updated recently. So for those folks who are power users and come out to see us on a regular basis, they can see which articles have been published and what information is new on our site. We control it. We control what information is highlighted. So if you go to the next screen, you can see that anything with a star is something we've said this is important and we want this at the top of our main screen. Anything else is showing based on popularity. So if an article is hit more frequently, then it's going to show up under the starred items. And then there's always the ability to click in to see the full list of articles. Anything with a lock is indicated is only available to agents. So only those, so in this case, our customer service and quality improvement team has access to guide their responses that may not be written for public consumption. And so it gives us the ability to kind of manage inside. The other thing we use very often is macros and scripts. So if we have, we manage travel for a number of areas on campus, and so if a traveler comes back and they send in their receipts to us, we'll look at that and say, okay, we got everything, but we don't have the hotel folio. We have a standard script that goes out, that's basically a receipt of need that we send out, and so it really has expedited and made predictable for our end users what they can expect from us, and we're seeing greater compliance in getting things into us as a result of that. So on the next, you can also see the knowledge base. This is back to that first kind of overview screen where the knowledge base would also report on views. So we can see what articles are of most importance. And if we don't have those starred, we can look at our design and decide what should we be highlighting, what do people have questions about, and then dig in deeper to say what they found, was it helpful or not. We also, and I think this is on, we also have the ability, you see on the right, the top searches, one of my favorite things to check is, what have people come to us and looked for with no results? I mentioned we're finance and HR, and we do some general customer support. We had somebody type in battery recycling. So we're not writing content for any of our central offices, but we can put in an article that says, if you're interested in a battery recycling program, please contact our Department of Environmental Health and Safety. And then we link directly over to them. So providing the resource, but not writing the content. In the next slide, see the ability, so I've got multiple groups who are using the same database. And then we're able, through ticketing groups, to subdivide that information, whether the director of finance functional team is wanting to see everything for her team. So anything, the way we have named things would be anything that starts with FIN, or whether she wants to look and dig down into specifically her ordering team. You're able to do that through, again, this overview dashboard. So you can get a sense for how many tickets have come in, what's that first reply, how's the satisfaction going. And the SLAs do the same thing. So I mentioned we're trying to increase our responsiveness within the first 24 hours or the first 8 hours of work since something's been received. And we're able to do that. So when I sit down with the directors, I can pull up we've done dashboards for each of the directors and say, let's look at your SLA. Let's figure out what are the barriers we need to start working through. So from a data standpoint, I'm not guessing at how things are going. I'm really able to ask questions from a much more advanced space than I would have been back in the days when we were dealing with a service account. So the last slide here for me is about we have a new website. We are leveraging the Knowledgebase. We control 100% of the content, which is really pretty amazing for us, and it allows us to help our central offices. This is a true story. We had a breach a couple of years ago with some data, and we were able to work with central offices to very quickly get up information on our site so that in position to take those calls. So we're looking to deflect about 10%. One example of that deflection, we just started loading data from a web-based timesheet and a monthly reporting of leave system. And when we were all positioned, we'd done all of our FAQs, we had the institution ready, we believed, but we also expected we'd get a bunch of calls, because again, email and phone tend to be the way the university operates. In all of our instructional and informing information, we included links to our knowledge base. So what we found when we went live was that we had 20 calls across the whole institution, but we had over 600 hits to our knowledge base articles. So really did well more than deflecting 10%. We're also looking at exploring that artificial intelligence space, and I know we're doing some knowledge capture work within Zendesk now, just really starting to scratch the surface of that. The knowledge capture allows for agents, when they're starting to bring up or respond to an article, they can start to embed those knowledge-based articles back to the customers. We're focused on our service level agreements, looking to improve that by 15% in the first year, again, just by advancing the conversations of what are the barriers and what are our protocols, because it needs to be more than, we got this, we'll get back to you, but we need to actually have a material response. And then looking at other SLAs, so if it's not, we may respond in 24 hours, but it's really a more lengthy issue. What are the touch points and how do we measure those going forward? So that's the University of Louisville story.
Wow, that's awesome. Thank you so much, Melissa. And thanks to you as well, Kim. We are going to get into our question and answer session now. So you can go ahead and put your questions in your control panel, and I will start rattling those off for our presenters. Okay, we have a couple coming in, so we'll get started. The first question I have is for Melissa. How hard was it to implement Zendesk?
So it was quite easy, actually. Zendesk has a lot of very helpful materials on their help site. Some guides to how to get started, some things to think about. We had very good experience with reaching out to Zendesk and having them kind of work through some issues with us. As I mentioned, we leveraged our 30 days where we had a representative who kind of helped us make sure we were thinking about the right things and structuring the way we moved forward. We decided our approach was not to try to get it all done and then go live one day, but rather really to use that primary functionality of ticketing, then add the phone. So every 6 months we have added something new, and in January the team has been challenged to say, given where we are, if we were to start over, what would it look like and what do we need to do to kind of advance? So every 6 months we've just been moving forward, and Zendesk has been very supportive.
Awesome, thank you. I have another question. and this is one that I can speak to, and I'm sure Kim can as well. Is there an onboarding program? The answer is yes. Braincell offers a number of Zendesk startup packages to get you started, and there are also professional services packages that are offered with Braincell and Zendesk in tandem. And then I'm going to give this last question, unless we have any others that roll in, over to Kim to answer. How much does Zendesk cost?
So I'm glad you asked. So Zendesk is a per user, per month subscription, and it's based on the needs of a customer that really determines the cost. But it's really easy to get started with a free trial. The pricing ranges, you know, anywhere from, I would think with a university, that it wouldn't be our lower level 5 user subscription. It'd probably be a professional or enterprise. So you've got the support and the guide license, and then it's per user per month. And happy to talk with anyone about that.
Yeah, absolutely. And one thing I really love about Zendesk's pricing model too is that it's really scalable and packageable depending on what the needs of your organization are. That being said, Kim did mention that there is a free trial available. We're going to put that trial link into the chat box so you can click on it right from here. We'll also send it via email in our follow-up. Thank you so much for attending, and thank you to our presenters, Kim and Melissa. It was great to have you. If you're interested in seeing a customized demo of Zendesk and how it might help your organization, you can hit us up at sales@braincell.net, call the number you see below, and also you can check us out on Twitter and at braincell.net. Thank you all for attending.
Thank you.